Welcome to the Kenya Want Them Nada Movement podcast. Have you ever had that feeling that things have just gone off track? That we started out with a clear destination in mind, but somewhere along the way we took a wrong turn? Well, the Kenya Want Them Nada movement is making a powerful case that this is exactly what's happened to our nation. They're saying that Kenya was founded on a very clear, powerful mission that's been lost in all the noise, and now it's time for a reboot. So today, let's break down exactly what that means.
Right at the very heart of this idea is something really fundamental. The fight for independence, it was never supposed to be just about swapping out one group of people in charge for another. No way. It wasn't about power games or who gets to sit in the big chair. The whole point was a massive, fundamental shift in what our nation was actually for. It was about changing the entire focus of the country.
So what exactly was this lost mission? What was this noble quest that seems to have been completely forgotten? Well, imagine you're listening to a radio station with a perfectly clear signal, but over the years, more and more static creeps in until all you can hear is noise. The movement argues that's what's happened to Kenya's purpose. The endless political squabbling has just drowned out that original clear signal. So, what was that signal? What were we originally fighting for?
And here's the thing. That mission was crystal clear. It wasn't some vague, feel-good slogan you could put on a poster. It was a laser-focused, practical plan. The goal was to improve the lives of every single Kenyan. How? By uniting to defeat three very specific, very real national enemies that were holding everyone back. The mission was to fight them, not to fight each other.
All right, so who are these three real enemies? Who were we meant to be fighting this whole time? According to this framework, these were the actual battlefronts where the war for Kenya's future was supposed to be waged. Let's name them one by one.
First up, enemy number one, ignorance. Now, when the first schools were being built, education wasn't just about getting a certificate to hang on the wall. It was a tool for survival. It was about empowerment. People knew that learning to read and write was the key to getting a job, to knowing your rights, to making sure you couldn't be cheated. It was practical, it was urgent, and it had a clear purpose.
But something changed along the way. And this quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? We have enough certificates, but not enough opportunities. You see it everywhere. An entire generation armed with degrees and diplomas, but with nowhere to go. The system is churning out educated, hopeful young people, but the connection between that education and a meaningful career feels completely broken. And that right there is a recipe for deep, deep frustration. That brings us to the second giant we were meant to fight: poverty. I mean, look at this image of someone climbing a ladder that just leads to a big question mark. It perfectly captures the feeling, right? It's been decades since independence, and for so many people, economic progress still feels like this shaky, uncertain climb into the unknown. The argument is that the system that creates and sustains poverty hasn't fundamentally changed. And this is absolutely crucial to understand. Poverty isn't just about not having money, it's about being denied dignity, it's about being denied opportunity. People aren't asking for handouts, they're asking for a fair shot, a chance to work, to build something, to own something, to provide for their families with their own two hands. And when that basic human desire for dignity is denied over and over again, frustration is the only logical outcome. And that leads us to the third and final enemy on the list: disease. Our healthcare system is described as the weakest link in the chain, a battlefront where we are consistently being defeated. We all know the stories. You go to a clinic and there's no medicine, you go to a hospital and you can't get care until a bribe is paid. This wasn't the vision, not even close. Just let this quote sink in for a moment. People aren't afraid of illness, they're afraid of the cost of seeking help. That is a terrifying reality. The fear isn't just getting sick, it's the bill that follows. It's the knowledge that one medical emergency could bankrupt your entire family for generations. When that happens, healthcare is no longer a right, it's a luxury for the rich. And that's a profound failure. Okay, so let's recap. We have the three real enemies: ignorance, poverty, and disease. They are huge, powerful forces. So the question is, why aren't we winning? Why are we still fighting these same battles 60 years later? Well, the argument is simple and devastating. We got distracted. We took our eyes off the real enemies to fight a phantom enemy that we invented ourselves. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. On one side, you have the real enemies, the things that affect all of us, regardless of our background. Poverty doesn't care what your last name is. Disease doesn't ask what village you're from. And on the other side, we have the false enemy, tribe versus tribe. This, the movement argues, is the great distraction.
It's the political magic trick used to keep us fighting each other so we never unite to fight the real problems.
Now let's be crystal clear about something. This is not an attack on culture. Celebrating your heritage, your language, your traditions, that's a beautiful thing. That's what makes our nation so rich. The problem isn't culture. The problem is when tribe is picked up and used as a political weapon to divide us, to make us fear our neighbors, to turn us against each other for someone else's political gain. That's the poison.
Okay, so that's a pretty heavy diagnosis of the problem. It's easy to hear all that and feel a bit discouraged, but here's where we pivot. Because identifying the problem is only step one. Now, let's talk about the solution, and it starts with a tool that you almost certainly have in your hand or in your pocket right now.
Seriously, think about it. How many hours a day do we all spend in our WhatsApp groups, on Telegram, on social media? We're sharing jokes, memes, gossip, debating politics and football. A massive amount of our collective energy goes into these digital spaces. But what if we could harness that energy? What if those conversations could become the starting point for real, organized, positive action?
And that is the billion-shilling question, isn't it? How do we make that leap? How do we transform all that passive scrolling and casual chatting into active community-level change? The potential there is absolutely enormous, but it's not going to happen by accident. It requires a plan. It requires intention, and most of all, it requires a dedicated space for those ideas to grow.
And this brings us to the first concrete, actionable step that the movement is proposing: a dedicated platform, a space that is specifically designed not for distraction, but for construction, a place to capture all those good ideas that get lost in the noise of social media. So, the first step is simple. Visit www.wantamnatam.com. That's WANTMNOTAM.com. This is where we start.
So let's talk about this platform, Wantam. What is it? Well, think of it less like another social media site and more like a digital headquarters for change. It's a workspace designed for one purpose: to help us rebuild Kenya, one concrete idea at a time, from the ground up.
So, what makes it different from all the other places we talk online? The rules of engagement. The platform is built from the ground up to filter out the noise and the negativity. No insults, no bad language, and absolutely no tribal hate. The entire focus is on constructive, action-oriented ideas. It's a space for builders, not for wreckers. And getting started couldn't be easier. It's a simple 4-step process. First, you go to the website www.wantiamnotam.com. Second, you create your account. Third, and this is so important, you find your specific county. Change starts at home. And fourth, you start posting your ideas for change. That's it. Simple, direct, and focused on local solutions. This right here is a core belief of the movement, and it's something worth thinking about. There's no neutral ground. What that means is that by being a citizen, you're already in the game. You're on the field. Choosing to do nothing is still a choice, and it has consequences. It's a vote for the status quo. So every action you take and every action you don't take, it all matters.
And this all boils down to one final, very personal question. It's not for your neighbor, not for the politicians. It's for you. You're Kenyan. That means you already have a stake in the outcome. You are involved. So the only real question left is, what are you going to do about it? What will you do next?
The path forward is clear. It's a call to action. It's about channeling our energy, our ideas, and our frustrations into a single constructive platform. So let's do it. Visit www.wananatam.com, create your account, find your county, and share your ideas. It's time to stop shouting into the void and start building. Let's rebuild the real Kenya together.
And that's the framework. It's a call to reboot our national mission, to refocus on our common enemies, and to use the powerful tools of today to organize for a better tomorrow. Thank you so much for listening to the Kenya Wantam Movement podcast.